We are rock and rolling episode 538. No Laugh Track podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota at Acme Comedy Company in the North Loop, to be specific here. I'm Justin Severson, hosting each and every week. It's been almost exactly a year since Chris Porter was here on the stage with me.
Well, that's crazy.
You were,
I looked for I guess I forgot to sign the wall last time.
What?
I looked, I was like, oh, I thought I was here last year. Or maybe I just spelled my name Chad Daniels. I don't know. Maybe I was like, they don't care I was here, but they'd love to know Chad was here.
Well, I can help you out with that. It was Valentine's Day week of 2023. Does this ring a bell now?
I'm an odd comic to have on Valentine's Day because rarely am I in a relationship or do I have relationship material. It's usually about how I will never not be alone.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard any stories of people like, we met at the Chris Porter show and now we're married and have.
Oh, there
and I'm
are
pregnant.
a few. They come every year in certain markets. There's one in Omaha.
You're kidding.
There's one of my good friends, Paul Long. Him and his wife. I mean, we weren't friends at the time, but him and his wife came to one of my shows on one of their first dates.
Look at that.
Yeah, and now he's one of my dear friends.
And then you got him hooked. Then, of course, they have to come back every time you're
Absolutely. Well, I also sell cocaine after my shows. And it's a very specific one.
So, first of all, I saw your set last night.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I snuck out right away.
Oh, good.
Right away. I don't want to be seen.
Awesome. Well, everyone's going to be like, oh, you're the guy from the podcast.
Yeah, that's maybe happened twice ever here. And I think it's the same guy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I appreciate. If you do it again, I appreciate it every time. Trust me, I really appreciate it.
Dude, it's great to be acknowledged.
Absolutely.
Especially when you least expect it.
Absolutely.
A couple of weeks ago, I was in Vegas, and I was walking down the street, and I got recognized like twice. And then I was in Vegas last weekend for shows, and no one recognized me at all. It was like the weirdest.
Well, that'll keep you in your place, right?
Oh, one of my If you want to epitomize my fame level in one interaction, I was walking through the streets of downtown Kansas City, and I walked up to a corner, and a girl went, "Holy shit, it's fucking Chris Porter." And without skipping a beat, her friend goes, "Who the fuck is Chris Porter?"
And they were both right.
And they were both, I was like, both are fair. Both are fair.
How you work the Jimmy Kimmel Club in
Yes.
Vegas? What's that? How do you like that place?
It's
Let's be diplomatic.
It's my favorite place to perform in Vegas.
Okay.
Structurally, there are things like it's got a very high ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
and other than that, I think it's like the perfect club.
Okay.
I
I walked
comedy,
by about a month and a half ago. I didn't get to, there was it wasn't an act I wanted to see. That's all I'm going to say. So I didn't go.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go, but I stayed right at the Flamingo, which is just down the road there.
Because there's they call it the Link Promenade.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a fake street.
Yeah.
But and that was my joke while I was there. I was like, "Oh, good, you built a street people can just walk down and do things." I'm like, "Oh wait, there already was one. It's called Las Vegas." I was like, "Why do you need this? Was this for people that wanted to go? I'm tired of going north and south.
I was going to say there was no east west.
I want to go east west. I want to see the sun behind a Ferris wheel."
Right, because all other times you would do that in Vegas, you're risking your life by going off the strip either direction.
And if you're at the Strat, do not leave. Get an Uber and go somewhere else.
Right.
Because if you are in the shadow of the Strat, you will get robbed.
I have a...
but Kimmel's is great.
Yeah.
It's my favorite club. I wish the ceilings were lower. But other than that, best crowds.
Okay.
Fullest crowds. Like, always had at least 200 people in the room.
Awesome.
And the staff is ridiculously amazing as far as taking care of you and making sure your needs are met and going above and beyond.
Nice.
So
nice. I want to know if this has happened. So I was in Vegas at the beginning of January, and for one of the days I was basically by myself. I'd never really done that before. Really just walked around by myself. It was a ton of fun.
It is a lot. I did that the other night. It was pretty great.
Okay, and twice within 24 hours, I was very aggressively approached by a prostitute.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Has that happened to you at all
no.
recently? Because I'm telling you, Chris, within 5 seconds, she was like, "Let's go somewhere and let me suck your dick," and I was like, "Whoa! I don't even know your name, honey.
Just trying to get a beer, babe.
I was looking for my friends."
Look, I know you, and I know you're not a prostitute guy.
No,
but guys that look like you are prostitute guys. And
that's sort of what I said to my wife when I told her about it. I was like, "This has never happened before. It happened twice in the last 24 hours." I was like, what was I giving out? It's just because I was alone?
And I have the same vibe. It happens a lot too. I don't get it like on the street. But
it wasn't on the street.
Like if I walk up to a bar to get a beer, and I know immediately if a girl's like, "Hey, buddy," because that never happens.
Right?
No girl in Des Moines even is like, "Hey, what are you doing, cutie?" I'm like, and so
yeah. For the record, it wasn't on the strip. It was inside a casino both times.
Yeah. No, they got to make money, and fucking guys that look like us probably gonna give it to them.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, I think the casinos, at least this place, must know. I mean, I recognized the girl after, she walked by me. I said no. We crossed paths again. I had to say no again.
Yeah.
And then I saw her again. I'm like, well, clearly these people working at the casino recognize her as well.
I'm sure. At the very least, the bartenders know.
True.
And they probably get a little cut.
I wonder.
Because they're they're probably like, "Hey, if you're going to sit here and fucking literally whore yourself out, I'm gonna need a couple $100 to not call the cops."
I mean, there's got to be some sort of wink, wink handshake.
Yeah. Because it's like,
if dumb me could figure out what's going on.
Where'd you just go for an hour and a half?
Right? Exactly.
Why does your breath smell like dick?
Why's your dress on backwards?
I had a buddy of mine. He was blackout hammered, and he walked, and he's. Listen, I'm not a prostitute guy. The closest I ever came was in Amsterdam. Because you're walking down the red light district and they're literally behind glass.
Yeah.
And there's some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. Like, I was like, I'd have paid €50 trying to fuck this chick anyway. And I think the deal breaker was, I found out, not from approaching them, but found out from another person, was they don't go to your hotel room in Amsterdam. You go into, when you say, "Yeah, let's do it," they open the door and you walk into that same room where they fuck all the other dudes. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that's not a little damp.
Oh.
Just a little damp, either from sweat or anything else. Like, I don't want to lay down and be like, all right. So
I'm gonna need to see you put fresh sheets on.
And I was also in my 20s. Like now, I think even if I had a one night stand now, I'd be like, I need to go get tested immediately.
Right.
I
have to say that everyone that I've told the story to about how these two different women came up to me, or like, "Hey, where are you going? What do you want to do?"
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "But how much do you think it was?"
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I had visions of like when I used to watch episodes of Cops.
Yeah.
And it's like the innocent guy, but the prostitute comes up, and the next the cops are like, "Yeah, you're going with us, buddy." And I'm like, I didn't even
say yes.
I didn't ask a question and answer. I don't
Was she attractive?
I mean, that's the thing. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's I'm gonna have, and I think if you're gonna get my money, you're gonna have to be like devastatingly.
Not devastatingly, no.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I think
no,
in order, it's just something that'll help me calm myself down after I vomit.
Exactly. So let's talk about your week here at Acme. Last night was your first night. Jeff Foser, his very first night emceeing, if I know correctly.
Yes.
Right?
He looks a bit like a mad scientist. And I like it. I don't mean that in a bad way.
I know. I love it.
But if there was like a Nick show with a mad scientist, he'd make it to, producers at least.
Yes, a lab coat is all he's missing.
100%.
Right.
But nicest guy in the world. Very funny.
Mm-hmm.
He destroyed.
Yeah.
And what I thought was cool, about, and I love this about Minneapolis, the scene, is there were a lot of comics that came out to watch him, to
Oh,
support him.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I did notice some of that.
Yeah. And then he was sitting at the bar with him. I just walked by and went, but he took it well.
Yeah, he'll never forget that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Do you? So, what was your version of that? Like your first MC or your first kind of spot like that for young
I
Chris Porter?
believe it was, God rest his soul, Mitch Mulaney, who'd been on a show on the WB network where he played a teacher, I think.
Okay.
And Mitch was very funny and a nice guy. And I was a doe-eyed host that thought we were going to be friends forever.
Where was it?
I was at Stanford's in Westport, also God rest its soul, which, man, I miss that club. That was the coolest. That was a great club. It was upstairs. It was shallow, low ceiling, real wide. But, yeah, it was also run by cocaine, drug addict people.
Those don't seem to last, huh?
I mean, to be fair, they were up and running for 25 years, despite their best efforts.
I'm sure a lot of great stories.
Oh yeah, no, you could do a documentary on that shit. But yeah, and I just remember the shows went great, and I did real well. And Mitch was super nice. He gave me his phone number, and I would call him all the time.
Really?
And he would pick up most of the time, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm at this party." And I'd be like, "Oh, cool, man. Well, just called to say what's up." And blah, blah, blah. All right, man. And he was always super cool about it. But yeah,
You think you ever worked with him? Do you remember working with him again ever?
I don't know if I ever worked with him again, but we knew we had mutual friends out in L.A. He was really good friends with my friend Anthony Spock, and so when I would go out there, we would hang out, and then he just he just had issues, and they ended up catching up with him, and we lost him 15 years ago.
Damn.
Like that. Yeah.
Damn. So what you're saying is, so when Jeff Foser makes it out to L.A., he's got a place to stay. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I won't give him my number. I learned that lesson. But also, I think I was 20 when I hosted for the first. I started comedy when I was 19.
Yeah.
So I was 6 months in when I hosted the first. It was a different time.
Sure.
In 1998. And so there wasn't as many people doing it, and so it was easier to, I think, get hosting gigs and stuff like that. So, I hosted, and I mean, I thought it went well at the time. I'm sure if I went and looked back at the tape, I was like, oh, I'm literally bombing. But, yeah, it was fun shows, and yeah, I ended up being the house MC. Not immediately after that, but like a year later, I ended up being the house MC for like 3 months.
Working your way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
It was fun. I'd go to college from 11 to 6. Or no. I'd go from college to 7 to 10, and then I'd go work at the mall from 11 to 6. I'd go home, and I knew this. I'd come home, I'd eat dinner, and then I'd kind of take a nap while I watched a Law and Order. But sometimes I'd pass out in the middle of it and wake up, and the case they had already gotten to the courts, and I was like, I don't even know what's going on. And then I would shower and go straight to the fucking club, and then I would drink until like 1 or 2. You know, you're 19.
I mean, I assumed.
And so, yeah, you're like, oh, I'm just 5 hours sleep. I'm good.
Right. What was the mall job then?
Security.
What?
Yeah, it was all my friends wanted to be cops growing up. I didn't want to be a cop, but so they worked at the mall to like juice up their resume. And because I don't think you could become a cop till like you were 21 or something like that, because you can't bust people for minor in possession if you are also a minor, I think. So, or if you're like, hey, you're a minor in possession, you're like, don't we have class? And so
I kicked your ass in 5th grade, dude.
Yeah, I'll kick your ass tomorrow, JUCO. So
you did security.
I did security, but it was the Rich Mall. So we had and it was it was the late 90s. So, like I don't think people realize how great shit was right before 2001. Like everybody had money, everybody was having a great time, and so the mall had figured out a deal with the local dealerships. So they were like, you can display your cars in our mall.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But in trade for that, you have to supply the cars for our security detail. And so we were driving BMWs
No.
and Ford Explorers, brand new ones.
Like around the lot. And
Around
shit.
the lot being like, hey, fucking, you can't park there. You fucking poor.
Hey, you guys smoking weed in there?
Yeah, well, I'd get out, but I'm swaddled in Corinthian leather. so just don't do that there. And I used to sit in the back, and I would listen. This was CD days, and I had my CD, and I'd throw in CDs, and I'd write jokes, and I would write jokes until I was fucking out of jokes, and then I would drive around the lot, and then I would park the car and start writing jokes again, and like all the other dudes wanted to be inside and walk around the mall, and I was like, I don't want to be seen at all.
So did you ever have to actually bust somebody doing something like?
So, the worst one was. So the first hour of every day, I would be in. Like you had to be inside, so I would be inside the first hour of every day, so that no one would see me. I would walk around, make sure stores opened on time, and then I would sit inside and eat an omelet. And all of a sudden, I get a phone call from the Guest store. Literally the night before, they had this huge workshop about credit card fraud. And this dude came in with a fake credit card on like the worst day to fucking do it. And
You're hungry to bust somebody.
So, and not only that, they are everyone in the mall is freshly educated on how to spot it.
Right.
Like literally an hour ago, they were like, here's how to do it. And like the guy even told me, he's like, I thought it was a test. And so the guy did it, and we show up. And so we have to wait for the guy to come out. And so the guy comes out, and we're like, excuse me. And as soon as we said that, he takes off running. And we go running after him. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, while I'm running after this guy, I'm like, how do I get out of this now? And
yeah, what's the end move here?
he ends up, like, barreling over an old woman. And he gets outside. And luckily, because we're it's like full-on cops at this point.
Yeah.
Where we're like, we're going west through the Dillards. Meet us at this door. We know where he's going. And, like, your adrenaline's going. And of course, it's the one day it's snowing. So he busts out through Dillard's. 3 dudes tackle him. And I just kind of get there. I'm like, well, I don't need to get in on this. So I just kind of stood there and made sure that he didn't move. And
Stood there for the video.
And like, hey. But that was the weirdest one where we had to like full on tackle a guy and run through and it was at like 9:30 in the morning.
He learned his lesson, I bet.
Well, I'm sure he did. But I remember later on being like talking to the guy from Guess, and he was like, yeah, I thought it was like a test.
That's funny. Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah, I've had those jobs, like when I'm selling beers over at the, in some of the sporting events, where they're like, "Hey, just a heads up, there's counterfeit money going around." Like same thing. Like,
Yeah.
That's the worst day to try and do that when they're actually like testing for it.
Yeah, and you have like a slip, like, oh, I think they copied this one.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. I think we should. I'm going to give you a chance to mention what you're doing. Campfire Astronauts.
Oh yeah, I got a little side project. Me and Zach Myers from Shinedown are best friends, and we dated for some time. No. Anyway, we do a show, and it's basically like we would come up here in chairs with guitars, and we play songs. We tell stories. Sometimes stories of us together. Sometimes just, we've both been on the road for a long time and done some really weird shit on our own and together. So it's a lot of those stories. And then songs are spaced out intermittently. Usually the songs are, usually we tell a story about the song, like why we're playing it.
Oh, right on.
And then it's all covers. It's never anything like, this is about the girl that left me in 96. Her name was Sharon. This is called Sharon You Bitch.
And to be clear, you're not up there doing comedy songs.
No, they're like legit cover tunes.
Yeah.
And then at some point, he does stand-up, I do stand-up. And then we close the show out with 2 songs, and then that's it.
I briefly mentioned this to my wife last night, and she was like, "Shinedown? That really. She's
It's
what?
They're a band that, like, if you've heard of them, odds are they're amazing.
Yeah.
But also they're a band that no one's ever heard of that fill arenas. Like, it's the weirdest. Where I'm like, oh, my friend Zach plays for Shinedown. They're like, who's that? Like 60% of people I say that to, I'm like, oh, well, they're playing the Enormo Dome,
right?
So somebody's heard of
Yeah.
them. And
Normo Dome.
yeah.
It sold out. They sold out the Enormo Dome again. Son of a gun. Let's see. Oh, so last time we were here, one of the things that you mentioned is you had just recently done a cold plunge.
Yeah.
Did that continue?
No. I'm still.
Because my dream is I do stuff like that, and I'm so conscious of how healthy I am, and I can handle the cold. I want to be that guy.
And I found out I wasn't even doing them that cold.
Okay.
Like I was doing like 50 degrees because we were literally just running into my friend's pool in like February.
Okay.
In Los Angeles. And
yeah, I didn't turn the heater on.
And that's exactly what he said.
Okay.
And so, but it was like 48, 50 degrees somewhere in there, which in the cold plunge world is boiling.
Yeah.
Like they do it at like 38, 32, somewhere in there.
Right, just below freezing. Right?
Yeah, or just above it, so you can get out.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but there are a few things that like I'll do. Like I skydived and was like, yeah, I would do that again. But cold plunge, I was like,
yeah.
Kind of feel like death.
Uh-huh.
And but that being said, you know, I've been doing these Burt dates, these Burt tour dates, and that's their big thing. So I think you know, in a in a gang situation, I'd probably jump back in.
Oh, really? Okay.
To prove my manhood, but it's never my idea.
Gotcha.
Let's put it. It's never like, man, let's do it cool. That being said,
you'll do it to fit in. I got
every time I've done it, when I get out, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
But man, it's tough. And these people that can just be like, I'm just gonna jump in.
I just saw last night this guy on social media was like, yeah, we're looking for volunteers to help us. We're trying to reverse aging. Come on, we're every day we're hopping in. We're going in the river. Come on.
Also, fuck off with your reverse age. Like, let's have a good, fun life, but we don't need to be 120.
That is one of the first things that pops into my head. Like, what do you mean by? Because I don't know. At some point, it's going to be not worth it.
Could you imagine how many lanes of a highway there would be if we're living to 130?
Yeah.
Like, this 10-lane highway's not enough. Still taking me an hour to get to St. Paul because there's 700 billion people on the planet because no one will die.
How many generations of families in one house?
Oh, no
right?
shit. Have you met my great-great-great-great-grandpa?
We're sharing a bed till he dies.
Yeah. It's, he smells. He smells. But he does cold plunges every day. And
he has a beer and then has a cold plunge.
No, I think at 110 we should be able to hunt you.
I like that.
Yeah, you just go out into the woods and try to make it.
And if you can, then you earned a little more time, right?
There's a time limit.
That's hilarious. Hey, I'm curious. So this happened to me about a week ago. I went to a fast food drive-thru, just ordered one thing, a burger.
Okay.
And it wasn't ready when I got to the window, so they did could you pull up?
That happened to me with a sausage biscuit the other day.
And they're like, could you just pull up to spot one there? Okay. I'm like thinking like, there's no one here and it's not ready. First of all, that's strange.
Yeah.
It was a very simple order. Like it was a quarter pounder. Hold the cheese. Hold the cheese.
That's why they were in there calling you gay and stuff.
So here's the thing.
They're like, no, wait, I got another one. I got another one for the guy who doesn't eat cheese.
Farted on the bun. Yeah.
This lactose.
I love cheese. I don't like fake ass American cheese, so I have that held off.
Let me tell you something about American cheese. Yeah, it's fake, but it's delicious, and it melts so perfectly.
It does. It does.
It's my first choice in eggs. Yeah.
Fair enough. But
yeah, I understand. I get your beef with it, but let's not poo-poo it. Okay.
I'll eat it before again. I'm sure. So they had me pull up, and I'm waiting for the sandwich, and this guy brings it out, and he's like, quarter pounder, thank you. Hands it to me. I start driving away, and I notice the sticker on it is someone else's like very intricate special order of the same sandwich. Extra shaved onions, no ketchup, and some other things. Extra bacon, which it didn't even have on it.
Yeah.
What would you do? Just take that sandwich and drive away, or would you do a U-turn and get the correct sandwich?
I am too specific with my. I'm a very picky eater, so I'm going back around.
You're going back around.
Yeah, because like I'm a no veggies guy.
Oh.
And like, look, lettuce. If it's leaf lettuce and tomato, like I'm not opposed to pulling that off. But when it's that shredded shit that you can't get at, it's like sand because you can't get it out of anything. You're like, I think I got it, and you take a bite, and you're like, motherfucker. Onions, onions, I'm bringing it right back because there's no way that hasn't permeated the fucking bun.
True.
Same with pickles, and I've also been the guy where I hand it to them and then they just knock it all off and give it back to me. I'm like,
no.
I could have done that.
They take a napkin. Here, we got it.
Yeah. You're like, fucking, do you own this place? Are you trying to keep shrink down, Kevin?
Right.
Like, you are 17. Just make me another fucking burger.
And we're charging 50 cents for dips now because you've been wasting them.
That's fine. I got 50 cents for an extra ranch.
Well, for the record, I just ate somebody else's sandwich. I just took off and ate it.
You got to stand up for yourself, bro. You can't let McDonald's railroad you like that.
I know. It was fine. I didn't. It's not going to change the way I order. I'm not going to now get it with.
Yeah, you weren't like, oh, this is life changing. Just extra shaved onions. You were already dealing with a psychopath.
I know. I should have pulled over and been like, who the fuck ordered that?
Like, are you mad at your fucking partner? Or you're like, this bitch gonna pay with my breath.
You know what?
Bacon. I want onions only.
It might have been Valentine's Day last week, or maybe the day before. So there's
Treating yourself on V-Day.
could have been something to that.
Also, I love how you went to McDonald's and you were like, oh, no American cheese because that's fake. Like, the burger itself is super great and the bun is of great quality.
I pick and choose.
Fucking I worked at McDonald's from fucking 15 to 17. And I equate you to the giant woman that would show up and order a number 6, which was a double quarter pounder meal, which at the time we still supersized. She would supersize it with a Diet Coke.
I knew you were going to say that.
You're just like, bitch, get the sugar. Because you are doing nothing for yourself here.
I drink Diet.
I drink Diet. Granted, it's 64 ounces of it.
Yes.
And I'll probably get a refill.
Yeah. I need to bring up one of my favorite things you have in your act right now, which is when you're talking about how things used to be different. Of course, I mean, as someone around your age,
oldest man on stage now,
I can completely relate to so many of those things, including the part where you talk about people going into record stores like Best Buy.
Yeah.
And they actually ran. First of all, I love the point that you point out. They actually ran out of music sometimes. Like, imagine that happening today. That would never happen because we all get it off our phones. But when you're doing that bit, it reminds me of when I did go to a Best Buy once, wanted a CD, and I didn't know the artist. And I sang the song to the guy working. And it's, to this day, I can't forget it because I'll just tell you what it was. Tainted Love. Oh, Tainted Love.
Yeah.
That's the CD I wanted.
But
was Soft Cell, Tainted Love.
But was he accurate? Were you like, bump, bump? And he was like, oh, that's fucking Tainted Love.
Yeah, we found it. They had it in stock. I purchased it, and it was the only good song on that album.
I will never forget. I've always, music's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And most of my core memories are tied to what was playing and I'll never forget the first time I heard Nirvana was at Kelly Fletcher's birthday party in 8th grade or 7th grade. And I remember I was sick. But you're in 7th grade and you're not going to go to the party.
Right.
So you show up and then I was like, it would come in waves, and like a wave came where I just kind of needed to sit down, and I kind of sat down, and fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit came on, and I sat up, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I remember going to Target the next day and just knowing it was Nirvana and not knowing what song it was, and I couldn't afford the record, or maybe the record was sold out, but all they had was Come As You Are, but I didn't remember the name of the song. So I was like, this must be it. And I put it in. I was like, well, this is obviously the same band, but this is not. And Come As You Are is a great song.
Yeah.
But it's not Smells Like Teen Spirit. No. And, but yeah, that was. And then, but yeah, I just remember that was kind of the core memory where it was like, oh, we were lost.
Mm-hmm.
We were literally just in the dark grabbing for things and hoping that was it. And you couldn't return CDs.
Imagine, so like now I'm thinking of like you get into a band and then want to hear their old stuff. Yeah. And you weren't going to hear that anywhere.
No.
Like you were totally taking a risk of every song on there is probably new to you.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of CDs, especially the used CD places, when they came into effect, you could listen to CDs. And then Best Buy started having listening stations.
That's right.
But even then, you could only listen to like 15, 16 seconds of the song or whatever. And, but yeah, there was just so many one-hit wonder, fuck you over CDs. The Refreshments, I remember them.
If I could have all those $19.99 back, right?
Fucking... And then the thing people always bring up that I don't really bring up because I feel like someone else does is Columbia House.
Oh, yeah.
Where you get, 11 CDs for a penny, but then you have to buy 19 of them for $35 a piece. I
never did that, but my buddy across the street did, and I was thankful for it because then I took those CDs and brought it home and then dubbed them all onto cassettes.
Oh, yeah.
And then my collection tripled in a week.
And that was the day. Those were the days where you'd make your own mixtapes.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there was no Spotify, so you'd sit there and you'd have to put a CD in, press play, hit record, and my dad luckily had a fucking. He was enough of an audiophile to have everything connected, so I could just record.
Oh,
straight
fancy.
Over. But your friends that their parents didn't give a fuck about that shit would literally record it off. You'd hear that they would just recorded it off their boombox. Like one was playing, and then they used like a tape recorder.
Held it up.
Yeah. Shut up. This song's fucked up because my mom comes in and yells at me. And so,
that dog barking isn't part of the song.
Halfway through Spice Up Your Life, you shut up, Mom! Shut up!
I saw backstage there, you have some albums sitting out.
Yeah, I still, sell merch. I don't like T-shirts because I don't, most of that. I feel like I'm running an Abercrombie and Fitch because you're like, oh, I need larges and I need extra smalls. And
then you're out there talking people. You'll squeeze into a medium.
Oh, yeah. And it never matters how big you get them. There's always a guy that's offended that you don't have the next one up. Like, I remember when I sold T-shirts, I'd get these. You'd go to Wisconsin, and there's all these guys. You got XXX. And then finally, I got XXXs. And, of course, a guy comes up. He's like, you got Quad X? And I'm like, no. Who the fuck has Quad? That's a car cover, bro.
It says Nissan on it, but I'll sell it to you.
Yeah, fucking. It's got little pockets for your mirrors. But yeah, and I sell vinyl records, which are like yesterday. The day you get here is the worst day.
Oh yeah,
because your bag weighs like 65 pounds and you've been dragging around it all day.
Yeah.
And then on the way home, it's a 20 bag. But yeah, I sell records. They're great. Because even if the customer doesn't, because everybody wants something.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they don't have a record player, it's basically a signed headshot is all it is.
Yeah. And
it's great. And most of the records have download cards. The new one doesn't, but I'm going to fix that on the next pressing.
Oh, okay. So, so let's talk about that. So since you were here last year, we discussed briefly that you had recorded a special, and it wasn't out yet.
Yes.
It was coming out in April. Well, of course, now it is out.
It is out.
And there's also, you're saying, an LP version of that special.
Yes. It's called There's No Money in Babies. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's pretty good. I don't mind it.
The beginning.
The beginning. So for
What the fuck?
pulling back the fourth wall here. When you do a special, you usually record multiple shows.
Yeah.
And I would come out and give a speech before every show, and like every show, I'd be like, "Hey, man, don't yell stuff out, cause it'll fucking. I'm just gonna cut it out.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna make it." And so, and I was wearing like a black crow shirt when I do the speech, and then when I came out, I was like, "What's up, everybody?" Because I was wearing a different shirt. He like, of course, the guy's like, "Where's the black crows?" I'm like, God damn it! So finally, so that was one example, and then yeah, I was doing one of the shows, and this guy just starts laughing a lot. And I look over, and he's starting to do like the Ray Charles thing. And I've done a very fair amount of mushrooms, and I know what a mushroom guy looks like. And I'm like, so in my head, I'm like, oh, that guy's tripping. Okay. And I'm like, how do we play this? And I'm like, let's just hope he kind of dies down. And he doesn't. Like, he's starting to laugh at like setups. Like I'd say it's and he's just like, and I'm like, and it's to the point where like other people are looking. I'm like, I can't record an entire show like this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I just, and you see most of it where I'm like, hey man, I don't want to fuck up your buzz, but are you on mushrooms? And he was like, basically, yeah. And so the powers that be that were recording were like, we need to get him the fuck out of here. And so they pulled him. And he left, and that was, and then eventually, someone reached out to me that was friends with him.
Oh,
And like he's now known as the Mushroom Guy, and blah blah
the
blah.
Chris Porter mushroom guy.
Chris Porter, like all his friends make fun of him, and
And
it's a small claim to fame for him.
and he has video evidence of it.
And I did get a picture of him just flipping me off like this, and but yeah, and so. I didn't think anything of it. I thought we'd just use it as a clip for like promotional purposes. But when the directors pasted it on the front of it, I was like, that's such a great way to. I mean, he was one of the best directors I've ever worked with.
Oh, that's awesome.
As far as just the ideas he had for comedy and stuff. He even came up with the title of the special.
Oh, okay.
Because normally, like all the other specials I've done, someone comes to you, whether it's a producer or a director, and is like, here's some ideas for titles, and they're all just garbage. And so he was like, and he even knew it kind of going into it. He's like, I know you probably don't want to hear them, but here's some ideas I had. And he was like, there's no money in babies. And I was like, and then I immediately envisioned the cover, because what I did for the vinyl is I recreated the Beatles Butcher cover, but I'm all for Beatles, and instead of blood and meat, I use money for the stuff. And,
It's so good.
and it's one of those things. It's kind of like a Dennis Miller joke where you're like, man, most people don't get it, but if you get it, it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
And also as a guy who's always wanted a copy of that record, but doesn't have $7,000
Right.
to just
Yeah.
give someone.
I was gonna say I think it's really expensive, right?
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
because they stopped it.
I saw a very cool version of it in Springfield. There's no way they still have it, but someone had like tried to rip because the Butcher cover comes in different states. There's the first state, which is you bought the record with the Butcher cover, and then second state is the fucking record company pasted the replacement cover.
Yeah.
And it's still on there, but it's what's behind it.
Oh, I didn't know this.
And then third state means the cover's been ripped off. And there's very different variations of it. Like you can get a third state that's been done professionally and it looks great and you couldn't tell the difference. This was like someone had tried to rip the cover off themselves, and they did it perfectly, but it's like just down the middle, and it kind of looks cool. Because you're like, oh, it's definitely back there.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy it because it was just like, I'm still a poor guy in my head. So like to drop $400 on a record, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And then you leave and then you're like, oh yeah, that wouldn't have been a big deal really. Yeah. Like you have a lot more money than you used to. It's still though, you're like,
Can you think of anything you have pulled the trigger and spent the money on like that?
Sneakers. Not this year, but at the beginning of last year, I was like, you had a good year last year. You can go spend a stupid amount of money on a pair of shoes. And
Huh.
there were the white Levi 4s. I'd been eyeing them for years.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Not like thousands, but many hundreds.
Are you going to get the Trump shoes?
No, I did look on StockX to see if they were on there, just to see what they were reselling for. I mean, on eBay, they're going for like $25,000.
Nobody has them yet, though, do they? I don't think anybody.
No, the way they did them, I think he did the Kanye model where you pre-sell them and then you take that money to have them made.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it's a pretty easy way to, like, make a bunch of money without spending any money.
At some point, we're going to see somebody on the stage at Acme wearing those.
I mean, some comics going to buy them just for the goof.
Yeah.
And let's be fair. A lot of our brethren, one of their things is they just like to be the finger in the butthole. And so they're going to buy them just to watch the reactions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Along those lines, I ended up on Trump's website recently. I was like, I want to see how, I don't even know why. Oh, because of the shoes. I want to see the shoes. I want to see how much they were for sale.
Also, just see what he has to say.
Yes. And there's so many variations of his hats, but like the original Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
Did you know those are like $45?
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, if you're,
no, but
he needs the money, I think, but also, don't you want to sell those for cheap to get them out so more people are wearing them?
No, because Trump is all about the American man, and he wants to support them any way he can, and if that's by charging them $45 for a $15 hat, that's how he's going to do it, and he's doing it for you. Okay?
Thank you.
That's how he supports America, is by gouging them for hats. And now is it worth $45 for everyone to know that you love America? I think so.
You'd pay double?
No, but I live in California, so I'm already paying double for most things.
Perfect. That was the perfect response to that. Is there anything else we should be mentioning before I cut you loose? Or you didn't come back, I know there's been a lot of bed bugs in Vegas. You didn't come back with bed bugs.
No,
That's
no,
good.
I was, they even look, man. It's bed bugs in the hotel industry. They're just like it's going to happen. Like you can't. And then when you have 80,000 rooms on your property, there's going to be bed bugs on one of them.
Yeah,
it's just like I was eating at an establishment in a downtown area of a city, and we were in a basement, and a rat ran by, and some of the people at our table were freaked out. I'm like, if you have a food establishment in a downtown area, you have rats.
Yeah.
Whether you can do everything you can. There's going to be one. You just do your best to keep them out of your food.
yeah. The rat was here before us and after us.
And also, there's a trillion of them that we can't see. So let's just be happy we just saw one.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Just don't think about what you're not seeing.
No,
and just be thankful for the one.
That's a scout. He's up here. He's like, nope, they're still up here, and he's going to go back and say, no, we still can't go up.
That's like this video I watched on TikTok this morning. This guy's like, he's like pulls over because he sees a little tiny kitten on the road. Like looks like he's on a country road, like dirt road. He sees a kitten. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to save this little kitten. He picks it up, and suddenly there's 4 dozen kittens coming out of the grass.
We got him. We got him.
And he's like, no.
As a matter of fact, we're all done.
Shit, now I'm saving 50 cats.
Oh, I about had a fucking mass shooting occur from my own hands. I don't have a gun with me, but I let there was like a car blocking one lane, and this guy had been waiting there forever. So I was like, come on, man. And 1,000 cars just followed right behind him to the point where I had to be like, fuck you guys, I'm coming. And then the guy got mad at me. I was like, no, bitch. I was trying to be nice, and you all took advantage.
For you, yeah.
Yeah. No, that guy was long gone.
Right.
I'm talking to guy 38 where I'm like, nah, bitch, you weren't even here.
And he's telling the story from another way. This asshole cut me off.
Yeah, we were all going. Yeah, it was his lane, but it was our turn.
Right. Lesson learned.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, you just killed a nice guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I was nice until you did that, and now I'm not nice anymore.
I go through waves of that with holding doors for people.
Oh, yeah.
where I'm like, if one more person doesn't fucking thank me, I'm never doing this again.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm at the point.
And I'm not doing it for thank yous, but come on.
I just say, I always say something. Like if they walk by, then I'll say, oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, okay, no, you go ahead. Like I always, because even if they don't react to it, they heard it.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll fuck with it. Like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. This has been awesome, Chris. People should look up your special on YouTube. It's available for free. Bring some extra money when you come to a show this weekend at Acme to leave with an album.
You don't even have to bring cash. I got a square.
Perfect.
So you can bring cards.
Bring a card.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have that with you anyway to buy some drinks at the club. Here,
absolutely.
So. Yeah.
But I do not finance. Actually, I do, but the rates are awful. It's like payday loans.
There you go. There you go. I think that's it. We should be mentioning anything else. You're still doing your podcast sporadically as well.
Sporadically,
right?
Yes. Me, Andy, and I both have jobs. Also, it's not going real well, so it's like the money's not coming in. So it's a labor of love, and while the people that love it,
the 1 millionth podcast with
the
your
1
sister.
millionth podcast with my sister Andy, spelled with an I, and which she's very adamant about, and she gets very upset when it's spelled with a Y. And to the point where I can't voice text from my car because it always spells it with a Y. And it hasn't figured out that I don't want it that way. And
that's funny.
So, yeah. So I always have to, like, if she texts me and normally I don't have to use her name, but sometimes I have to be Andy something.
Right.
And I have to, like, God damn it, fucking have to type this bullshit like a poor. And
there was a word I was making notes for the podcast this morning. I couldn't think of how to spell a certain word.
Yeah.
So I set it into my phone so that it would spell it for me.
Oh, yeah. No, I ask Alexa how to spell things all the time. And sometimes she even goes, sigh. And then she says it. Like an F-R-O-M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get it next time.
Next time. It sounds like a U.
It does. Thank you, Chris. This has been great.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Let's do it again in a year.
Fuck yeah!